Welcome back, everyone, to this month's edition of GAR's 3 and 3 at 3. My name is Manuel Avila. I'm with Remax Executive, and this month we got 3 experts to talk to us about lead generation strategies. So why don't we get started by having you introduce yourselves and maybe tell us a little bit more about you.
My name is Ingrid Anastasiu Homes with Keller Williams. I've been in this industry almost for 10 years now, and I am working with my own team, not on a team, but yeah.
I'm Brandi with Green Ridge Realty. I just passed my 10-year anniversary, and I've been with Green Ridge the whole time.
Okay.
Congrats.
I'm Michael Wiechertjes with Fun Finding Homes at Keller Williams, and I have been in real estate now. I'm in my 5th year, and I'm a solo agent. So I just kind of do my own thing and make sure that all my people are taken care of.
Okay.
All right, awesome. Well, so I'm very curious, you guys. What lead generation strategies do you guys use to obtain potential buyer and seller leads in this market?
So shall I just start?
Yeah, go ahead.
A lot of my business is generated based on open houses, sphere of influence, but a very big amount as well on referral business. Mm-hmm. So my approach to business is to do a transaction rate with my client, resulting in referral business. I ask actively for referral business, and I stay in touch with them as well. There are certainly a lot of other opportunities as well, which I take to lead gen, but I would say that is one of the biggest blocks of my business.
Okay, awesome. Now, do you feel like you're asking constantly throughout the transaction for the referral, or do you just ask at the end? What's your strategy with that?
No, I do not, because that would, at the end of a successful transaction, I certainly ask for referral if they know any friends or family members and so on, and then I follow up after a month or so into the transaction, like after we have closed, and check in, how is everything going with the house, etc. But I kind of always put that reminder in, hey, by the way, just keep in mind, I'm here to help. And I would say probably about 65 to 70% of my business indeed is based on referrals.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, me too. I had to run those numbers. In 22, 62% of my business was either repeat clients or from direct sphere referrals, and 71% so far this year. Same. So yeah, lots of follow-up contact. I follow the Ninja installation. If you're familiar with that one, 3 touches a month to all your clients. And then I also try to keep up with my people as often as possible. Something's always coming up. We just had a big storm. Call your people, find out how everybody's doing. Did you make it through the storm? I didn't have power for 5 nights, so I can relate to anybody who lost power, so it's an easy touch. Yeah. And then the other thing that I love to do is events.
Client events.
Client events.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and with the client events, do you have a plan of doing one a month, one every so often? Like what's your seasonally? Okay.
Yeah, my big ones, I do a baseball game, client appreciation of baseball game in the spring. We do Thanksgiving pies for Thanksgiving.
I do that too. I do that one.
Yeah, we do it 2 days before Thanksgiving. Everybody comes and gets a pie. It's a great way to talk to people about how was your summer, what do you have planned for the holidays. Easy conversations. And all of these events are a ton of touches, right? You're inviting people, you're calling to confirm, did they get the invitation? Or, thank you so much for coming. If they came to the event, we do a zoo event, dumpster event, trunk or treat. There's always opportunity to do something.
Always something.
Yeah, so I do at least seasonally, but I'd like to do more because they're fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for me, Sphere is obviously a big piece of that, right? And I could talk for a while about that, but I think definitely you have that covered. I also do client events, just started this year though, so I'll be curious to see kind of how that grows over the years. I did a donut event in the spring, and then during the summer I did a movie night where I had my clients come out and bring their families and come see a movie, right? So those were some of the Sphere things. I'm also a big believer in DTD2, which is a program I got from Keller Williams that has you calling your contact database at least once a quarter, an actual physical call, how you doing, or a text, something like that.
Yeah.
So that way you're regularly checking in with your people and you're not cherry picking your database, right?
So kind of like Brandi, right? Like doing like 3 touches a month. Well,
Yeah.
Every quarter, right?
Quarterly, yeah.
I don't do as well with it, but I try.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
try. And then in addition to that, so in terms of just finding leads, right? Because before you have a sphere, you got to kind of fill it up with some past clients. So my ways to do that were open houses. I think open houses do pretty well. For me personally, I do way better in person than over the phone, just because I can feedback, right?
Interact with
Even
them,
here, I
you
don't
know.
want to necessarily talk to the cameras because I feed on other people's energy.
Yeah.
Right? And you don't really get that as much on the phone. So open houses have been big for me. And then I also do invest in Zillow, specifically to try and continue to pump up that sphere of influence.
Well, you keep growing those past clients,
Correct.
and
Yeah, 'cause once-
eventually that's gonna
Right, exactly.
come back at you.
Yep, exactly. So once we start getting those repeats, and now that I'm in my 5th year, I would say this year has been pretty heavy with past clients or past sphere. Because I've gotten past that window where family members were maybe afraid to use me, or, oh, Mike just got into it like a little bit ago. So now I'm starting to see some of that. I'm starting to see some past clients. I'm starting to get some secondary transactions, people I helped in year 1. I'm now helping in year 5. I'm even, after this, I have a meeting with a past client I helped in my 2nd year, and they know that they're going to be moving and have a work transfer next year. So they're having me out to say, hey, what needs to be done to my home in the next 6 months that we can work on to make our home
ready.
shine the brightest, right? The shiniest penny in the drawer. So that's actually been really, really gratifying. So
And to chime in what he was saying, I would also say I do regular events. And I have come to find out that if, for example, one year, so for example, July 4th, we always do drop-bys and drop something off. Then we always do something in winter. We did picnic pops and events in a greenhouse here on Spalding, like during the fall season. And the interesting part is, one year we skipped that July 4th. And I had a couple of people reach out and say, oh, we were missing you. Everything okay? And I'm like, okay, I just cannot miss it.
You can't- yeah, you
because
can
it was
skip it.
drop-bys, and I have people who do that for me. But I'm like, July 4th, everybody is busy. And I think with an event, what's really important, what I have found out too, is that if you have one date, in the first year, the second year, you may not get as much attention, and it's hard. Like I remember when I did my first picnic pop in July. Now you buy those tickets, right, for whatever, how many people, and the reality is only half will end up showing. But you nonetheless have to keep doing whatever you pick to do, because with the consistency, they start to recognize it and then to attend more. I also think it's very important that you offer different things. Like you said, the movie night, that you have something which is geared towards families, and then other events which, it doesn't matter if you're family or if you're single or if you're a couple, because some events are just very kids driven. Like if you get the big bounce house and do donuts, you may get some singles who really enjoy it. I personally enjoy it, but so I
not many
think the
combo buyers
variety.
going to that.
Yeah.
Exactly, right.
But I think with all what you do, it really matters that you are genuine and that it really comes, that you come from contribution. Of course, we are all in the business to get referrals. We are very competitive, but during the transaction, we build a relationship with our clients. I know so much about my clients, sometimes more than I want to know, really, to be truthful. But I think it also is important then to continue on that path.
Yeah.
And even with some of the drop-bys, I have found every time, it's like, oh, by the way, thanks for putting that in front of my door. And yeah, I actually had a friend. I feel like it's top of mind, with those touches. You get top of mind again. I'm like, oh yeah, that person said, well, there's almost like that you feel like, well, you gave me something, now I need to give you something.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Reciprocate, yeah.
Yep. And then going back to not cherry picking your database, my favorite story with that is there was one time I didn't want to do it. I was like, I haven't talked to this person in like 4 years. They used to work for me. I used to be their boss. It's kind of a weird relationship. I'd reached out a handful of times, never gotten really a super warm reaction. And so then I reached out via Facebook Messenger and I just said, hey, how you doing? I'm doing my start of the year, like, who can I help this year kind of thing. Do you know of anybody looking to buy or sell in the next 6 to 12 months? And she goes, funny enough, I am. And it became a listing for me. Do I think she would have reached out and called me? I don't think so. I really don't. I think I was fortunate and blessed enough to be in that situation at that time to do that. Another piece of keeping in contact I like to do is I have a what do you call that? A smart plan. There we go.
Okay.
I have a smart plan. That's a Keller Williams thing. But I have a smart plan where I will get prompted to reach out to 3 people via Facebook. So if I'm Facebook friends with them, I have them tagged in my database for that. And so then they'll come up every month. And so usually it's about 3 to 4 people per day that I need to go, and I'll search them up on Facebook, see what they posted lately, either like or comment on it if I didn't already. And I think that helps keep me in that top of mind conversation, because when then they post a picture of their kid, they're getting so big, I can't believe how long it's been. Stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And it is genuine. I do care for them, but there is another element where, hey, when I post that closing I have coming up next week, you're more likely to see that now and to be like, oh yeah, Michael sells real estate. Michael still does well with that. That's cool. I should use him.
I think that's a very big or a very important point you are making. In the very early days or years of my real estate, like 6 months into it or maybe a bit longer, I had a friend work with another realtor, which happens to us many times, right, throughout the years. But the important thing she said to me is like, oh, you're in real estate. I didn't know. And then I looked on myself. I'm like, well, who is to blame? It's just me. So I'm going to make really sure, even if I plaster it everywhere, but that there are signs that you know that I do social media. It's my responsibility to make sure that people know it, or that they see signs out there. If you have an open house, yes, I feel like open houses are very valuable, but that you have the signs. More than once, I have gotten calls or clients by saying, well, we don't know you, but we see your signs everywhere. So we want you to come and talk to us because you must be knowing what you are doing. But I'm like, yes, so I think that is very important. So social media makes sense and coverage makes sense.
Terrible at social media. It's been on my top 5 list of things to do for 5 years. It's still not important enough for me to do it. So I just don't. I do send handwritten birthday cards. I get a lot of feedback from those. Me and their grandma. But they're the only 2 that get it. That's
awesome.
Anniversary cards, birthday cards.
Amongst all the invoices.
Yeah. And
that means that they'll really open it when he gets there, right?
It's a handwritten birthday card. And then one of the other things that I do is I send a market review to every client who's ever bought a house with me on the anniversary date of the day they purchased their home.
That's a great idea.
Super valuable. It's just a quick little market review. It takes me about 15 minutes. Sometimes you follow up with them in person, or, they expect it because they've gotten one every year. I usually tell them at the closing, you're going to get one of these. If you have an FHA buyer who has PMI, it's a great opportunity for them to look at their value and see, is there an opportunity here for me to drop my PMI? I've had people use those in place of appraisals for a refinance. So they're very valuable. It's a great touch, at least annually. And if you do it right, you're meeting with these people in person and having a conversation about what's going on in their neighborhood.
That's a great idea.
I love that.
Gold. Yeah.
So I think something I'm hearing from all of you, like a couple of points that really stood out to me, is really that personal connection and consistency. That's the biggest 2 points that I heard from all of you.
Even if it's been 4 years.
Exactly, right? Because otherwise, how will they know, right? It's not their fault at that point. So, okay. Now, obviously, a lot of these people are past clients, friends, people that you already know, maybe even warm leads. But in general, how would you go about targeting these leads or qualifying them to ensure that they're actually genuinely trying to buy or sell a property?
So if I get a Zillow inquiry, one of the questions would be, how long have you been looking? Are you working with an agent? Just to get a sense. Those who say, oh, we have been looking for 3 to 4 years, but the market has not come down yet, already,
you know what
category. But most importantly, for quality and on a safety perspective, Forewarn gives you a ton of information, right? And I had one just the other week pop up with I think 39 criminal records and stuff. I'm like, okay, next. I'm not saying that I could not have worked with, but you can make then the choice,
Right.
Social media tells you a lot as well. And then just qualifying questions as well. Do you have a down payment? Who is your lender? I always ask, who's your lender? Who is your agent? Those who say sometimes they're like, well, we have been looking with agents, but we are not signed up. But you get a sense, what does that mean about loyalty and how serious they really are.
Yes, absolutely.
So that, I must say, has really worked well to also protect my time and my resources, not driving all over town to somebody who will never be able. You see, to afford the house.
But in a way, though, it's more of that gut feeling when you're talking to them, right? Like it's when you're hearing what you understand. I mean,
I'm very basically on data because
okay.
I do trust my gut, but that's then I'm already there meeting with them, right? If I'm meeting somewhere like on a new construction site at 8 o'clock at night, then my gut feeling, I mean, my gut may say run, but I rather check it out before.
Yeah,
And I feel like you can eliminate a lot right away. At least I do. I'm very efficient because I'm a solo agent, so I have to be efficient with my time.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, for me, most of my clients are referrals. I haven't purchased a Zillow lead or any leads from online, so they all come to me more than warm. But along with that ninja process is a buyer intake. And for that, it's really more about education. So many people just don't understand what's currently going on in our market. So when you sit down and have an educational conversation with people, it's a really good opportunity to really feel out like, where are you in this process, and have you, are you really ready? And I'm willing, again, it's a lot of family and friends of people I've worked with, so I'm willing to show you a few houses and really dig into how you're feeling, because they're not strangers, and making that early on connection and making them understand that, we're going to work together now to get you to your end goal.
Yeah.
So very fortunate that way, but yeah, you got to qualify all of those.
Yeah. Oh, and absolutely that's safety aspect of it.
I had a few
necessary
sign calls that I'm like,
But even the open house, like the open house, I'm a strong believer in open houses for many reasons. Also because it gives me the opportunity to sell my client's house actively in front, even if that buyer has a buyer's agent, right? That's the only opportunity where I really have direct access. But if they sign in, well, they can put in whatever they want. And I think that is just the same for me as a Zillow call. I do run the same qualification. I look at where do they live today. If they want to see especially a high price point, I'm extra cautious and so on.
Yeah. No, forewarned's been huge in terms of vetting people, just because there have been a handful of times where all of a sudden I type it in and it's like, oh, I don't think I want to work with this person. And that's a different probably arena for me than it is for you guys. I've even received referrals from ladies out of my office who say, hey, you know what, I think this isn't right for me. And then I get that lead. I have had the opposite though. I got a referral out of state just like a couple months ago, and it was great. You picked up your phone. I've called 3 agents. You're the first one to pick up your phone. You got a lead from this other agent, and then she reached out to him and found out, oh, they'd really prefer to have a female agent. And so then I lost the listing, right? Total side note. But anywho, but forewarned's been huge. And then, I would say I'm probably bigger on just my gut, because I'll start categorizing people based on things they say. So we've been looking for 3 years, means we're never going to find a house that's going to meet their
We're not
needs.
realistic. We don't
They're
listen
not realistic. They've been looking for 3 years, which means 3 years ago, if it wasn't good enough for them, if they're in the same price range,
better now.
it's even worse now. Like it's going to be a sad closing, even if we do get to the closing table. So that's usually a pretty bad sign. So I tend not to follow up quite as hard on those. I would say another one I love to do is connecting with a lender. I have a handful of lenders, like we all do, that you work with regularly, right? So then at that weekly meeting, that weekly call, you can say, hey, were you able to reach out to, I don't know, Bob? And go, yeah, Bob's been ghosting me. Well, me too. I don't think Bob's.
I do that too.
Right? And then I've had times where I've written people off from my, I'll never come to anything. But then the lenders continue to follow up and doing their job. And all of a sudden I get a call like 3 months later, and they're like, hey, Bob's got his pre-approval. Took a while. I'm like, hey,
ready to go.
I forgot about Bob. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's great. So little things like that, and then you just kind of you start getting a sense. If you talk to enough people, especially at open houses, you know when people are trying to brush you off. You know when they clearly have not started the process at all, which I actually prefer. And then by adding that value add of education, right? Because if I'm going to provide value to you at an open house, when you're coming into me and saying, hey, I was thinking about buying, I have no idea what's going on. And then if I spend 20 minutes with you or 30 minutes with you at an open house, you're getting a star in my book, because I'm going to follow up and I'm going to make sure that that I am your agent, because you've already gotten a lot of value out of me. Let's carry this on to completion. Let's get across the goal line, So I would say that's, vetting clients is important.
Yeah,
And
so having that instinct almost
Having that
from...
instinct, and there are some times when you reach out to people and you think, oh, they'll never call me back, and they do. I was just on vacation. I had a Zillow lead. Took him through a house. It wasn't really for him. He wasn't really sure what he wanted to do. Recently had a divorce, and then I followed up with him 3-4 times. Never called me back. Never texted me back. And then I was in Colorado on vacation with family, and all of a sudden I get a call from him. He goes, I'd like to see this house. I'm like, great. So
On my way
found
back.
yeah, exactly. Well, I found someone to show it, found someone to show him another one, wrote on both, got one, didn't get the other. Inspections were while I was gone. I actually feel really bad about it because we sold the home and I physically
You
never
were
been
not
in
there,
it.
yeah.
You know,
They happen
but
a
you get
couple
those
times.
freebies every once in a while,
Never
right?
even been in it.
Yeah.
Never even been in it. But for every one of those, I have at least 2 or 3 where I went through. I mean, I think my record right now is 52 homes with a gal. Got her under contract,
Oh my God.
and then she backed out
Oh,
before inspection.
you get
She
a
had-
medal.
And I was like, you know what? That's wow.
Yeah,
Thankfully, it
that's
was during
wow.
that January to March window where I had some free time, but
You can
that
do
one
that
hurts.
during, yeah.
that
but
was
it's
like 3 years
Definitely.
ago. I
Cutting
will
your
always remember
losses
it.
is hard.
Yeah.
Like at what point? Like at 52.
Yeah.
That's so
You want
much.
to
Yeah.
see this through, but yeah.
But I believe every person deserves to have a home if they can qualify, and so it's part of my heart, right? It's so hard
It's
for
your
me to say no to
passion,
people.
yeah.
It's my passion. Like I do a lot of first time home buyers, and I have such a heart for those folks for a lot of reasons. But anyways, but that's why it's hard. I don't think I've ever fired a client. I've gotten really close, and that was probably one of them.
The one. I mean, after 50, I can see why.
Did she get a house? Oh, she walked
No,
away.
because
She walked away, yeah, and they sold it to somebody else for more than we were under contract for.
Oh.
I found her an off-market type situation, and then yeah, she got cold feet, and then she ghosted me. So haven't heard
If
from
you
her.
have like 52 homes shown to you, that tells me too that you cannot take a decision. And you know, I think we all have such clients. Luckily, not that often. But it's not a matter of what you are showing. Or, you know, I had another client where I said, very similar to your situation, and I said, it's not a matter, and I'm straightforward. Sorry, and a lot of people know it in the industry. And I said, like, it's not a matter that I show you another 50 homes. It's really a matter that you struggle to take the decision. And I'm sorry, I don't think I can help you anymore. And we, you know, split ways
Right.
in a good way. But I'm like, I cannot continue another year to show you 50 houses. So.
Although in my second year, it was a really helpful situation because I think there are probably 4 different things I talk about in a first-time buyer consult that came directly from that. One of which is qualifying listings, right? If we're going to go look at houses and you've already told me 2-car garage is a must-have, we're going to start
show you
looking.
one.
Right,
Yeah.
they're going to start sending me houses after a while. It'll be all 2 stalls, and we won't win. You know, it's out of their price range. Then they'll start sending me 1 stalls. And then I push back a little. I say, hey, we had said 1 stall was deal breaker for you, right? It was a non-starter. So what's changed? Because if you're just getting desperate, then you're not going to be happy. And I had that situation with that gal where we drove all the way to Ionia. She said, I'm willing to drive 40 minutes to get to work. Ionia was 39 minutes from work. Showed her the perfect home, perfect price. Everything was perfect. She didn't have a thing to say bad about the house. We get outside and she goes, boy, 39 minutes was a long drive.
Oh my gosh, you knew that before.
Yeah.
It is. I did it when I was in Arizona. It is a long drive, but you said 40 was your limit, and this is 39. And she goes, yeah, maybe it's 25. I go, okay. So now we've learned, if you send me a home that's 25 minutes away, or more than 25, I'm not going to show it to you, right? The next day, she sent me something that was 55 minutes away. And she goes, but Michael, it has a 3-stall garage. And I said, I will not show you this home.
Yeah.
And she goes, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
Yeah, you got to be respectful of your time and your resources.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit of pushback.
And I find it's more needed. I love it when I have a couple, 2 people who are buying a home together because they have those fights, they have those arguments at home. It's when I have single people in general that it gets way more difficult because they start using me as their sounding board. And then I become surrogate boyfriend, surrogate girlfriend, surrogate whatever. I'm the one they're bouncing ideas off of. And then it changes based on who they talk to last, right?
Yeah.
Kind of got off
Interesting.
topic, but.
No, that's very interesting. And that's great because, I mean, it still goes back to how do you
Qualify leads.
qualify your leads. Yeah, so that's awesome.
Buyer consult.
Buyer
That's a
consult,
great way
that's a
to do
big
it.
one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you all do buyer consults?
I do.
Yeah? Okay. Even with the Zillow leads?
do,
Or do you try to, because I know they push for that first appointment immediately
I
and
do
the
the
whole...
first appointment, but then I still try to get them, you know, and I say it does not need to be my office. Just meet in a coffee shop or meet on site. And I do not work without a signed buyer's agency agreement. For that reason, I do like give the buyer consult as well.
Yeah. No, fantastic insights. I love it. Yeah. So one more thing I really want to know about is maybe something more concrete, right? So even more real life experiences. So could you guys tell me about lead generation campaign that you ran in the past that was successful, and how many leads you got from that?
I must say, I don't do a ton of campaigns. What I do is direct mails. I do, when you say campaign, if you mean just like an email blast, I don't do that because I do not appreciate them for myself in my inbox. But I do partner. It comes down to partnership. For example, there's an event coming up, which is with a horse farm, where I said, yes, I sponsor it, and I'm going to be there, and I have my logo and all that. I do things like that. I do sponsorships also in the medical field if they have an event. So I build those relationships. It's not as measurable as if you send an email blast or if you send a direct mailing and then say, hey, I get 1 or 2 back. I must say farming is really, as we all know, based mostly on that you are really repetitive, do it for a long time. I do it probably not as good as I should, or as, to the extent teams do, because they have different resources and all that. I must say a couple times I did get, people come back, multiple listings I got out of farming, that they would just call me and say, hey, I had your card on my fridge now for 6 months or so, and I'm ready. And I'm like, oh, wow. So, but I would not say I am that great with whatever you define as a campaign.
Okay.
Or sending a campaign through the ERM. A lot is built on the personal interactions. As I said, I do events, I do partnerships with lenders as well. But it's measurable in a different way. I don't know how you do that because
I lived in a neighborhood. They had 180 houses, and I hit that neighborhood hard. My broker challenged me to get 20% of the business, and within about 2 years, I got 50%. So I sponsored a neighborhood chili cook-off in the fall. I did a spiked cider bar at the end of my driveway for trick-or-treating for Halloween. People, after about 2 or 3 years of that, started coming to my house first because I ran out after a few years. I did 8 gallons of cider, and it'd be gone in an hour. And then I did a lot of social media into the neighborhood and mailers. And the other thing I did was sprinklers, start up and shut down. We had a guy that would come in and do a discount.
that's a great idea.
So I just put a thing on Facebook and said, hey, let me know if you want your sprinklers activated or shut down in the winter. And you just do a spreadsheet and you send it off to the guy, and he does all of it. All I do is organize it. And I moved out of the neighborhood, and people were like, why are you still doing this? You don't even live here. So,
but you didn't pay for it, or did you pay for it?
No, I didn't pay for it.
You just, I organized it in my neighborhood too, but I did not pick up the bill.
No, I did not pick up the bill.
Okay, because that would be kind of costly,
Yes,
if
that
you have
would
50.
Great idea.
I don't know where you live, if you're in Clementsville with 450 homes,
Yes, no, so I don't live in that neighborhood anymore, so it's a little bit harder to be present, but I do all my own open houses in that neighborhood, and then you have the certain people that they would just come say hi. Just want to see all the houses in the neighborhood. So that's a good example of hitting a neighborhood really hard, and honestly not that hard. I lived there, so it was really easy to be visual and kids at the bus stop and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Then one other thing I did is in that neighborhood, I had sold a home, and I just had a feeling that that buyer was an orphan, a real estate orphan. The transaction with the buyer's agent, I was like, I don't feel like that person's keeping up. So on the 2-year anniversary of
You knocked the door?
the date that he bought his home, I sent him a market review, just mailed it to him, and a week later I had his house listed.
Wow.
Nice.
So those market reviews.
Yeah, right.
It's a very valuable touch. You have to give value. And
Now, so are you reaching out over the phone and telling them, hey, I got your market review ready, or do you just send it in the mail? Like, what's the...
Yeah, if you do it the true ninja way, you're calling these people up and you're sitting down with them for coffee or dinner or drinks or going to their home. A lot of people don't want you in their home, for 15 minutes. It can get a little awkward. I send them in the mail, but I let people know they're coming, follow up with them. And recently, a fellow ninja has been doing videos, and they're killer. It's a 5-minute video with your phone, kind of going over, hey, I sent you this in the mail, or I'm sending this in an email. Take a look at it. Any questions, call me. And you send the video along with it.
I think that's very convenient. because everybody is busy, and I feel like sometimes people are intimidated too, to allocate time for you, because now you are there and say, like, sign here. So that's a much easier way to give them a way out too, but still stay connected.
And those forward calls too. So I mean, I call my clients, my past clients, and chit chat for 10 or 15 minutes. And one time I got off the phone and she texted me back and goes, Brandi, I didn't even ask you a question. Like, how are you? I'm like, what was the point? The point was talking to her.
It gives another excuse
about
to
her
reach
family,
out. Yeah.
Her occupation. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's a great reach out. And if you haven't talked to them in a while, like, I missed you so much, and I really do. I miss my people. You spend months with them potentially.
No, that's true.
Showing them houses 2 or 3
You know
a
so
week.
much about them.
You get to know them, you see them.
They
and then
become friends.
They're under contract, and then they're like, well,
Bye.
I'm not going to see
Yeah,
you
that's
anymore.
it,
Like,
yeah.
you'll still see me, but it just won't be the same.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you try. Yeah.
It is kind of fun too when you get like life event invitations. Like I just got invited to a gender reveal party this upcoming weekend, and I'm like, I can't
are
make
you
it, but that's
a fan
fun.
now?
That's fun. Apparently we're friends. That's cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, in terms of campaigns, I kind of would echo what they said, where I don't know if I really do a lot of campaigns per se. I can't give you like a lead conversion rate or anything like that. Because a campaign to me implies something other than what I've been doing, right? Like, oh, we're going to do this one campaign and get something out of it, as opposed to
One by one.
consistent, day by day, just doing the work and then reaping the rewards and opportunities to be successful. The closest I ever came early on, I was challenged by somebody to do a for sale by owner open house. So I talked to my broker, got the documents I would need to make sure that, number one, I wouldn't get sued. Number two, I would also collect a commission if I brought a buyer. And I called 4 to 5 for sale by owners in the area that had homes that I thought were maybe a little overpriced, probably weren't going to be able to sell. And one of them reached back out, and I was able to get him to sign both documents, explain the process, told him, like, hey, I'm hoping that we sell your home at this open house. Might not happen, in which case I'd love to list your home and maybe go through that process. He's like, well, we'll see how it goes. Held the open house, did my normal standard stuff, put out signs, Facebook ad, paid Facebook ad, stuff like that, gave me some people to call, things like that. Ended up having someone come into the open house, bought the home, didn't have a buyer's agent, used me for that, had to sell their home, and another couple that thought the home was way overpriced, which was a little overpriced, but anyway. Thought it was way overpriced, ended up using me on the back end to buy and sell their home in their condo.
That was a 250% ROI for you.
Correct. Yeah, it was. I got $1 million worth of volume out of one open house for sale by owner.
You just never know.
Right.
I think you need to be super creative with what you do. You need to be open, and you need to stay in communications. And like with what you said, I had once like a really very, very small amount buyer, but the referrals I have received through this client was quite immense, was, I don't know, 10, 50, probably 5, 6 million in value. So that was early on too, where I'm like, I will never dismiss, like opportunity, a small opportunity, because it's snowball effect, right? It
Can lead somewhere else.
7 transactions in 10 years.
Yeah.
They haven't all been big, but 7 transactions. She
Keep
loves to buy
buying and
houses,
selling, yeah.
I've got a past client that loves referring me. I've gotten probably 5 referrals out of her because she's in that first-time home buyer age group.
Yeah.
And she's very outgoing, very bubbly, you have to use my, you know what I mean, that kind of person.
Yeah.
So she's at the top of my list, where if I'm busy or I've got other things going on, if I see her name on that list, she's getting a call.
Calling. Yeah.
She's your golden goose.
She's one of my A. I have very few A list because I categorize them, ABC, and I have very few A's, and she's definitely one of them.
Yeah.
And just to add on what you were saying just now, with referrals and the amount you can get as an agent, and actually I have something now in the car for somebody to drop off who had given me a referral, I always acknowledge it in a certain way. I think that is so instrumental too, which I consider as well a form of lead generation. Because I want you to understand that I know you have choices, you don't have to refer me. But you did, and so I want you to have that in the head of your mind as well. So, it can be something little, it's not just a card, it's like a personal drive-by, and I personally drive by. I don't send my assistant drive-by. So I feel like those things matter. It's a part of lead gen.
Yep.
Great. Well, no, I love the stories. I really think that they showcase how effective your strategies are. I mean, you're not doing campaigns, but you're staying consistent. You're doing those personal touches. You're staying top of mind. And I think that's the biggest three things that we can take away from this. That does take us to the end of the vlog, though. So thank you so much for sharing your insights and experiences. We really appreciate your time. And that concludes everything. See you next month.